This is the story of how Korea's oldest automaker just threw down the gauntlet in the global pickup truck war. KG Mobility, formerly known as SsangYong, unveiled their all-new Musso pickup truck on December 29, 2025, with a twist that nobody saw coming. And before we dive into specifications and what this means for the $218 billion global pickup market, we need to clear up one massive misconception spreading across the automotive internet right now. Here's what you need to know up front. This is not a diesel hybrid pickup truck. Despite what the headlines claim, KGM is not combining a diesel engine with electric motors in a single powertrain. What they're actually offering is diesel and hybrid as separate powertrain options in the same vehicle platform. And the hybrid system uses a 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol engine paired with electric motors, not diesel. This distinction changes everything about how we evaluate this truck against its competitors. Why does this matter? The global pickup truck market reached approximately $218 to $225 billion in 2024, with projections to hit $260 to $353 billion by 2030 to 2033. Diesel currently accounts for 95.6% to 97.3% of global pickup sales, but electrification is accelerating rapidly, with electric pickup registrations in the US alone increasing 34% year over year in 2024. KGM is positioning themselves right in the middle of this transition, offering customers a choice between proven diesel technology and hybrid efficiency. While Ford and Toyota stick to their traditional diesel playbooks and BYD goes all in on pure electric power, let's break down exactly what KGM revealed, what we know, what remains unknown, and why this launch could genuinely disrupt the established order in markets from Australia to Southeast Asia to Europe. The third-generation musso, internally coded Q300, made its debut at a two-day media preview held December 29th through 30th, 2025, at the KGM Experience Center in Ilsan, Goyang, South Korea, but the story actually starts a week earlier. December 22nd brought what KGM called a quality resolution meeting at their headquarters in Pyeongtaek. This wasn't your typical corporate gathering. This was the moment division head Kwon K-won stood up and told every executive and employee something important: that they're taking responsibility and preparing for mass production with thorough quality management and schedule compliance. Corporate speak, for we cannot afford to mess this up. 4 days later, on December 26th, KGM released the official exterior images and confirmed the Musso name would continue into this third generation. The styling immediately caught people's attention, though not always in a good way. CarBuzz described it as Korea's most awkward-looking pickup, noting an aggressively busy front end, with design choices that feel more improvised than intentional. While other outlets praised the Ford and Jeep-inspired rugged aesthetic, beauty is subjective, capability is not, and that's where things get interesting. January 2026 brings the full official debut, followed by the domestic Korean market launch in the first quarter of 2026. International rollout to Europe, the UK, and Australia is estimated for later in 2026, though specific dates haven't been confirmed yet. Before we get into specifications, you need to understand who's building this truck, because KGM's story is one of the wildest corporate sagas in automotive history. KG Mobility traces its origins all the way back to 1954 as Hadong-hwan Motor Workshop, making it Korea's oldest automaker heritage. The company operated as SsangYong Motor Company from 1988, and if you're over 30, you might remember seeing SsangYong SUVs in the late 90s and early 2000s. Vehicles that carried a reputation for solid engineering thanks to partnerships with Mercedes-Benz back in the day. But then came the ownership carousel. SsangYong passed through Daewoo, then SIAC Motor, then Mahindra, and by December 2020, the company filed for receivership, basically bankruptcy protection. The brand looked finished. Enter KG Group, a Korean chemicals and steel conglomerate who acquired the company in June 2022 and rebranded it as KG Mobility in March 2023. New ownership brought a new name, a new strategy, and most importantly, a partnership with BYD to develop electric and hybrid vehicles. Now, here's why this matters for the pickup truck segment specifically. KGM holds 87% market share in the Korean pickup segment. 87%, they absolutely dominate their home market, and their pickup truck heritage spans 3 decades. Starting with the original Musso SUV in 1993 that came from that Daimler-Benz partnership, then the Musso Sports in 2002 as their first dual-cab pickup, the Rexton Sports Musso current generation in 2018, and most recently the Musso EV in 2025 as Korea's first electric pickup. When people dismiss this as some random Korean brand trying to compete with Ford and Toyota, they're missing the bigger picture. KGM knows pickup trucks. They've been building them successfully for decades, and they just haven't had the resources to compete globally until now. Alright, let's get into the technical details, because this is where the rubber meets the road, or more accurately, where the electrons meet the diesel fuel. Three distinct powertrain options will launch with the new Musso. First, the diesel, a 2.2-liter turbo diesel four-cylinder engine producing 133 kilowatts and 420 newton-meters of torque. That's the proven workhorse that current Musso owners already know, reliable and efficient for highway cruising with strong low-end torque for towing. Second, the petrol option, a 2.0-liter turbocharged engine making 225 horsepower. Interestingly, this engine was previously export only, so seeing it come to the Korean market suggests KGM is serious about offering choice. Third, and this is the one everyone's talking about, the hybrid. This uses BYD's dual-tech technology, which KGM is already implementing in their Taurus and Action SUVs, and let me walk you through how this system works because it's genuinely innovative. The hybrid pairs a 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol engine producing 149.6 horsepower and 220 newton-meters with an electric motor delivering 177 horsepower and 300 newton-meters. Combined system output puts you somewhere around 175 horsepower total, though KGM hasn't released final combined figures for the Musso application yet. What makes this interesting is the P1 plus P3 dual motor architecture, Korea's first implementation of this setup. Electric motors sit at two different points in the drivetrain, which allows for 9 different automated driving modes. And the system can run in pure EV mode up to 100 kilometers per hour. KGM claims up to 95% of city driving can happen on electric power alone. The battery is a 1.83 kilowatt-hour LFP blade battery from BYD. Now that sounds tiny compared to pure EVs, and it is, but that's intentional. This isn't a plug-in hybrid trying to give you 50 kilometers of electric range. This is a hybrid system designed to maximize efficiency by using electric power for acceleration and low-speed driving while the petrol engine handles highway cruising. In the Taurus SUV application, this system achieves 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers combined fuel economy. Transmission is expected to be the 6-speed automatic from Aisin, and drivetrain will likely be part-time 4-wheel drive with 2H, 4H, and 4L modes, standard for serious pickup trucks. But here's the critical question nobody can answer yet. What's the towing capacity of the hybrid variant? This is where things get complicated, and it's the make-or-break specification for any pickup truck trying to compete in this segment. The diesel Musso is expected to maintain the current 3,500 kilogram braked towing capacity, which matches the Toyota Hilux exactly and exceeds the Ford Ranger's 3,400 kilogram rating. Payload is expected to range from 790 to 1,010 kilograms, depending on variant. But what about the hybrid? KGM hasn't announced towing capacity for the hybrid Musso yet, and this matters enormously because of what's happening with the BYD Shark. The BYD Shark is a plug-in hybrid pickup with 430 horsepower and 650 newton-meters of torque that does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.7 seconds. Making it the fastest pickup truck you can buy. Sounds amazing, right? Except the Shark can only tow 2,500 kilograms. That's 1,000 kilograms less than the diesel competition. Battery weight explains why the Shark carries a massive 29.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack that eats into payload capacity and limits how much additional weight the chassis can safely handle. Now, the Musso hybrid only has a 1.83 kilowatt-hour battery, dramatically smaller. In theory, KGM should be able to maintain full towing capacity, but we don't know yet. And this single specification will determine whether the hybrid Musso is a legitimate work truck alternative or just a fuel-efficient lifestyle pickup for people who don't tow. This is why the full January 2026 reveal is so critical. If KGM announces the hybrid can tow 3,500 kilograms, they've solved the equation that stumped other manufacturers. If they announce 2,500 or 3,000 kilograms, then buyers who need maximum capability will stick with diesel. Let's talk about how this truck stacks up against the established players, because on paper, KGM has a genuine competitive advantage, and it's not just the hybrid technology. Its price. The current generation Musso in Australia costs $40,140 to $50,334 drive-away depending on variant. Compare that to the Ford Ranger starting around $50,400 and the Toyota Hilux around $50,000. That's a $5,000 to $10,000 discount for a truck that matches the benchmark 3,500 kilogram towing capacity. And here's the other advantage, warranty. KGM offers a 7-year unlimited kilometer warranty. 7 years, Ford gives you 3 years, Toyota gives you 5, and Kia matches the 7 years with their new Tasman pickup, but that's another Korean manufacturer entering the segment. The traditional players haven't kept pace with Korean warranty terms, so you're getting a cheaper truck with a longer warranty that can tow just as much. That value proposition is going to resonate in price-sensitive markets like Southeast Asia, parts of Europe, Africa, and Australia, especially among commercial buyers who care more about total cost of ownership than brand prestige. But let's look at the full competitive landscape, because each competitor has different strengths. Ford Ranger brings 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque from its 2.3-liter diesel, and they're also developing a PHEV variant launching in 2025 for Europe and Australia with 45 kilometers of EV range. Ford's advantage is brand recognition and dealer network. They're everywhere. Toyota Hilux offers 150 kilowatts and 500 newton meters from the 2.8-liter diesel with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, and Hilux's reputation for indestructibility is legendary. There's a reason it's the pickup of choice in some of the world's toughest environments, but that reputation comes with a price premium. BYD Shark, as we discussed, has that incredible 430 horsepower combined output and 5.7-second 0 to 100 time, but sacrifices towing capacity. And it's priced around $61,000 Australian dollars, making it the most expensive option in this comparison. The KGM Musso sits in an interesting middle ground. Not the most powerful, not the fastest, not the most prestigious brand, but potentially the best value for money if the quality matches the promise and the hybrid variant delivers real-world fuel savings without compromising capability. We need to talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the Chinese battery giant in the partnership agreement. KG Mobility signed a comprehensive technology sharing agreement with BYD covering both electric and hybrid vehicle development. This includes a battery pack factory in Korea, plus next-generation hybrid system co-development, and BYD is currently the world's largest EV manufacturer. Their battery technology, specifically the Blade battery using lithium iron phosphate chemistry, is considered among the safest and most reliable in the industry. For KGM, this partnership provides instant access to proven electrification technology without spending billions on in-house development. For BYD, it's a strategic foothold in Korea and potentially a pathway to markets where Chinese-branded vehicles face political resistance. But this partnership cuts both ways. KGM's Musso EV, launched earlier in 2025 as Korea's first electric pickup, uses an 80.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack from BYD. The vehicle exists because of this partnership, and the hybrid system we've been discussing is BYD technology adapted to KGM's platforms. Some industry observers have raised questions about how much of the Musso is truly a KGM product versus a rebadged BYD vehicle with KGM exterior styling. That's probably unfair. The platform is KGM's ladder frame chassis shared with the Rexton SUV, and KGM has been building body-on-frame trucks for decades. But the electrification components are definitely BYD's contribution. Here's why this matters for buyers. BYD's track record. They've sold millions of electrified vehicles globally, and their battery technology has proven safe and reliable in real-world conditions. Even though KGM is a smaller manufacturer without Ford or Toyota's resources, they're leveraging world-class electrification components from the industry leader. The risk is geopolitical. Trade tensions between China and Western markets could complicate parts supply or create tariff issues, and brand perception matters. Some buyers will prefer a truck where all the technology comes from a single manufacturer they trust, rather than a hybrid approach combining Korean engineering with Chinese batteries. Now let's address the uncomfortable truth about KGM's global expansion plans. They dominate Korea with 87% pickup market share. Great. But Korea is a tiny market for pickup trucks compared to North America, which represents 75% to 78% of global pickup sales. And here's the problem: the US market is essentially locked for KGM. The United States imposes a 25% tariff on imported pickup trucks, known as the chicken tax, dating back to a 1960s trade dispute. Plus, new tariffs under the current administration have made importing vehicles even more challenging. And without local manufacturing, which KGM doesn't have and can't afford to establish, the US market is virtually impossible to crack. That forces KGM to compete in secondary markets: Australia, Southeast Asia, parts of Europe, the Middle East, Africa. These are significant markets, but they're also where Ford and Toyota have established dealer networks, parts supply chains, and decades of customer loyalty. KGM's dealer network outside Korea is limited, brand awareness is low, service infrastructure is a question mark in many regions. These are solvable problems, but they require time and investment, and Mahindra tried to expand SsangYong globally during their ownership period and struggled. Will KG Group succeed where Mahindra failed? The pricing advantage helps, the 7-year warranty helps, the hybrid technology differentiates them from traditional diesel-only competitors. But distribution and brand recognition remain serious headwinds. Australia is probably KGM's best opportunity for expansion. The market loves pickup trucks, diesel fuel is widely available but expensive, and there's growing interest in hybrid powertrains for reducing operating costs. If KGM can establish a foothold there and prove the Musso's reliability over several years, they can leverage that success into other markets. But success is far from guaranteed. Let's address something that's been largely ignored in the coverage of this vehicle: the environmental impact of diesel hybrid systems versus pure electric. Here's what the research shows, and it's complicated. A study published in Science Direct found that diesel hybrid powertrains achieve 11% to 22% lower carbon dioxide equivalent emissions compared to conventional diesel on lower speed routes. That's significant. Urban driving, delivery routes, stop-and-go traffic all benefit from hybrid efficiency. But here's the twist. Those same diesel hybrid systems showed 20% to 27% higher emissions on highway driving compared to straight diesel. Why? Because on the highway, you're not getting any benefit from regenerative braking or electric-only operation. You're just hauling around the extra weight of the electric motors and battery while the diesel engine does all the work. Now, the Musso hybrid doesn't have a diesel hybrid powertrain, it's petrol hybrid. But the principle remains: hybrid systems excel in conditions where you can use electric power frequently. Like city driving, short trips, and lots of stops. They offer diminishing returns for highway cruising and long-distance towing, where internal combustion engines are already efficient. This matters for pickup truck buyers because usage patterns vary enormously. A contractor making short trips around a city all day will see massive fuel savings from a hybrid, but a farmer towing a loaded trailer 300 kilometers to market is probably better off with straight diesel. KGM's approach of offering all three powertrains, diesel, petrol, and hybrid, actually makes sense in this context. Let buyers choose the powertrain that matches their actual usage pattern rather than forcing everyone into one solution. But for environmental advocates who want to see the entire segment move to pure electric, this hybrid approach is a compromise, not a solution. It reduces emissions compared to traditional diesels, but it doesn't eliminate them, and it's a bridge technology useful for the transition period while charging infrastructure develops and battery technology improves, but not the end state. The BYD Shark, with its plug-in hybrid system allowing 45 to 100 kilometers of pure electric range, is arguably the more environmentally friendly option if owners actually charge it regularly. PHEVs have a documented problem: many owners never plug them in and just run them as inefficient conventional vehicles hauling around a heavy battery they never use. KGM's mild hybrid system doesn't have that problem because there's no plug. It uses electric power automatically whenever it's beneficial. But it also can't do extended pure electric driving like the BYD can. So where does this leave us? The new KGM Musso Q300 represents a calculated bet on bridging internal combustion and electrification in the mid-size pickup segment. They're offering parallel diesel and petrol hybrid powertrain options, not a combined diesel hybrid as some headlines suggest, targeting buyers who want choice rather than being forced into one technology. The January 2026 full reveal will answer the critical questions we still have: exact hybrid specifications, confirmed towing capacities for all variants, pricing for each model, and availability timelines for different markets. If the hybrid can match diesel towing capacity while delivering significant fuel savings, and if KGM prices it competitively, they have a genuine opportunity to capture market share in regions where brand loyalty is less entrenched than it is in North America. The 7-year warranty matters. The BYD partnership provides credibility for the electrification technology, and the company's 87% market share in Korea proves they understand pickup truck buyers and can deliver products that work. But the skepticism is understandable. KGM lacks Toyota's reputation for indestructibility, lacks Ford's dealer network, lacks BYD's vertical integration and manufacturing scale. And they're entering markets where customers are notoriously loyal to brands they trust. The styling has been polarizing. Carbuzz called it awkward, others praised its rugged character. But pickup truck buyers care more about capability than aesthetics. And that's actually good news for KGM. If the truck works, if it tows what they claim, if it's reliable over the long term, the styling controversy will fade. This story isn't really about a single pickup truck launch. It's about the massive transformation happening in a segment that's been largely unchanged for decades. The global pickup truck market is worth over $200 billion and growing. Diesel still dominates with 95% to 97% market share, but electric pickup sales are growing at 34% annually. Hybrid technology is maturing, and new players are entering the segment with different approaches to solving the same problem. How do you make a working vehicle more efficient without compromising capability? Ford is developing PHV Rangers, Toyota is exploring electrification for the Hilux, BYD is pushing plug-in hybrid technology with the Shark, and now KGM is offering mild hybrid technology as a middle ground option. The winner in this segment won't necessarily be the company with the most powerful engine or the longest electric range. It'll be whoever delivers the right balance of capability, efficiency, reliability, and total cost of ownership for their target market. KGM's advantage is that they're not trying to out-Ford Ford or out-Toyota Toyota. They're positioning the Musso as the value alternative, the truck that does 90% of what the premium brands do at 75% of the price, with a warranty that exceeds both. Will it work? We'll find out when the first owners take delivery in the first quarter of 2026 and start using these trucks in real-world conditions. We'll see whether the hybrid delivers on fuel economy promises, we'll learn whether KGM's quality control has actually improved under new ownership, and we'll discover whether buyers in Australia, Southeast Asia, and Europe are willing to take a chance on a Korean pickup that most of them have never heard of. But here's what's undeniable. KGM showed up to compete. They partnered with BYD to access world-class electrification technology. They're offering powertrain choices that established players aren't. And they're pricing aggressively to win customers from the bottom up rather than competing directly against Ford and Toyota's premium positioning. Whether that strategy succeeds or fails, it's changing the competitive dynamics in the global pickup truck market. And that's good for everyone, because competition drives innovation, forces established players to improve, and gives customers more options. The Korean auto giant has unveiled their diesel and hybrid pickup. The specifications are competitive, the pricing is aggressive. The BYD partnership provides electrification credibility. Now they just have to prove they can deliver on the promise. We'll be watching.